explaining," she smiled wanly. "I understand. But you are distinguished, and you look it. I never will be, and I am ugly. Mother expects me to be an astronomer like Father and work with him, or to go in for club life and serious writing as she does. I never can do either." "Neither could I, Phil." "You are clever, successful. Everybody knows your name. When we are out, and people or an orchestra play your music, Mother always says, 'A trifle of my nephew's, Roger Locke.' Very original, is it not? Of course I do not understand music, but I hear that his last light opera—" And then she leans back and just eats up all the nice things said about your work. She would never let you know it, but she does. And that is the sort of thing she wants from me. I want to make cookies, and I love fancy work." The taxicab drew up with a jerk before the gaudy entrance to Silver Isles. I imagine Phillida had the vaguest ideas of what such places were like. When we were settled at a table in a general blaze of pink lights, beside a fountain that ran colored water, I regarded her humorously. But she seemed quite contented with her surroundings, looking about her with an air I can best describe as grave excitement. At this hour the room was not half filled, and the jazz orchestra had withdrawn to prepare for a hard night's work. After I had ordered our dinner, I glanced up to see her fingers busied loosening the severe lines of her brushed back hair. "Everyone here looks so nice," she said wistfully. "I wish my hair did shine and cuddle around my face like those women's does. Do I look queer, Cousin? You are looking at me so—" "I was thinking what pretty eyes you have." Her pale face flushed. "Really?" "Most truthfully. As for the hair, isn't that a matter of bottled polish and hairdressers? But you remind me of a question for you. Isn't a braid of hair this wide," I laid off the dimensions on the table, "this long and thick, a good deal for a woman to own?" "Show me again." I obeyed, while she leaned forward to observe. "Not one girl in 100 has so much," she pronounced judgment. "Who is she? Probably it isn't all her own, anyhow." "It is not now, but it was," I said remorsefully. "How could you tell? Did you measure it?" with sarcasm. "Do you remember the maxim we used to write in copybooks? 'Measure 1,000 times and cut once'? One has to be cautious." "I cut it first, and then measured." "What? Tell me." At last she was interested and amused. There was no reason why I should not tell her of my midnight adventure. We never repeated one another's little confidences. She listened, with many comments and exclamations, to the story of the unseen lady, the legend of the fair witch, the dagger that was a paper knife by day, and the severed tresses. She did not hear of the singular nightmare or hallucination that had been my second visitor. My reason had accounted for the experience and dismissed it. Some other part of myself avoided the memory with that deep, unreasoning sense of horror sometimes left by a morbid dream. The dinner crowd had flowed in while we ate and talked. A burst of applause aroused me to this fact, and the commencement of the first show of the evening. The orchestra had taken their places. "They will hardly begin with their best act," I remarked, surprised by Phillida's convulsive start and rapt intentness upon the stretch of ice that formed the exhibition floor. "Your ballet on skates probably will come later." "I did not come to see the ballet," she answered, her voice low. No? What then? A man I know. Once, when I was a little fellow, I raced headlong into the low swinging branch of a tree, the bough striking me across the forehead so that I was bowled over backward amid a shower of apples. I felt a twin sensation now. Here, Phillida? Yes. Someone from your home town or your college town? I essayed a casual tone. Neither. He belongs here, and they call him Flying Veer. He Look, look, cousin!" I turned and saw that the first performer was upon the ice floor. He came down the center like a silver-shod Mercury. In the silence, for the orchestra did not accompany his entrance, the faint musical ringing of his skates ran softly with him. My first unwilling recognition of his good looks and athletic grace was followed by an equally reluctant admission of his skill. Reluctant because my anger and bewilderment were hot against the man. My little cousin, my pathetic, unworldly Phillida, and this cabaret entertainer? At the mere joining of their names my senses revolted. What could they have in common? How had she seen him? Having seen him, it was easy to understand how he had fascinated her inexperience. Only, what was his object? He had seen us where we sat. I saw his dark eyes fix upon her and flash some message. Her plain little face irradiated, her fingers unconsciously twisting and wringing her napkin, she leaned forward to watch and answer glance for glance. I would rather not put into words my thoughts. Yet I watched his performance. In spite of myself, he held me with his swift, certain skill, his vitality and youth. He was gone with the swooping suddenness of his appearance. The jazz music clattered out. Phillida turned back to me and began to speak with a hushed rapture that baffled and infuriated me. "You understand, Cousin Roger? Now that you have seen him, you do understand? No, let me talk, please. Let me tell you if I can. It began last summer, at the school where I was cramming for college work. Oh, how tired I was of study! How tired of it I am, and always shall be. I think that side of me never will get rested. Then, in the woods, I met him. He was stopping at a hotel not far away. We I waited for her to go on. Instead, she abruptly spread wide her hands in a gesture of helplessness. "After all, I cannot tell you. Not even you, cousin. He liked me. He treated me just as a really, truly girl who would have partners at dances and wear fluffy frocks and curl her hair. He thought I was pretty." The naïve wonder and triumph of her cry, the challenge in her brown eyes, to my belief, were moving things. I registered some ugly mental comments on the rearing of Phil and the kind of humility that is not good for the soul. "Why not?" I demanded. "Of course." She shook her head. "No, thank you, but no. Not pretty, except to him. Only to him. Because he loves me." I do not know what impatience I exclaimed. She checked me, leaning across the table to grasp my hands in both hers. "Hush! Oh, hush, dear Cousin Roger! For it is quite too late. We were married 6 months ago, last autumn." When I could, I asked: "Married legally, beyond mistake? Were you not under 18 years old?" I was 18